morning, everybody. I know I was on a little bit of a hiatus, and so we are back here live to help you shift. It's been quite a winter already. We said it is going to be a very intense winter. If you have followed me, if not, you can come and even join us on the Telegram. We always appreciate our old listeners, our new listeners, and I'm keeping you up to date on a regular basis. There's a lot shifting, a lot changing. We've talked about this pretty intently for about 2 years now. And you're all very aware of what's going on. And so I'm really excited on today's show where I am up in the Great North. It is like in the minus 20s. It is cold today. I usually spend my winters on a beach, so this is not so fun for me. Yes, but every summer, what do you hear me say? If you've been in my community, I say all year round, you should be taking care of your health. It should be number one. Unfortunately, most people don't pay attention until it's too late. And then what you end up doing, it's like catch up. You're trying to rebuild and you're doing everything and anything. I know I hear this in my community all the time. They're like, well, I'm busy, I'm fine. You got to understand that sickness, illness, and disease doesn't just show up in the body when you wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden you have something. It's already been percolating and in the system. And also what's going on right now, I got the cold over the Christmas time, but my body was also ready for a little bit of a break. It had been going pretty intense for 2 years. I do take good care of myself, but I also make sure I take care of myself. I listen. So it was literally a couple of days. It was not that bad. And this is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm really excited because we've been able to bring Ken back live from C60. And you guys know how much I love C60. He's going to help us understand from the scientific perspective, but also a few things. I did take note of your questions around some things around the product. So he's going to be able to help us. And I will say, without adding this, so I added their particular brand into my system. It was in the summertime. And we do have a code for you. It's Tracy L Clark. You can go and, get your discounts there and use that. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk a lot about why it's important, why this brand. You all know very, very well, if you've been following me, I'm extremely picky what I'll put in my body. I'm extremely cautious and careful, and everything I put in my body, I do relate to the community, but I also make sure I understand why. So Ken, I'm really excited you're here because live again with us. I ran your replay actually over the Christmas that we did last time when I was on a break, because it's so important. Like, we've been 2 years where people have been in fear porn around health, yet people are still not getting the extent. And as well as I know, we have to be preventative. Like, we have to be. There's no option, but people wait. And I'm sure you've seen that a lot with people that have come to C60. They're like, now, oh, I'm having a major health crisis. Can you help? Do you notice that a lot?
Oh yeah, yeah, we have those people. And a lot of the people that come to us they've tried all the allopathic standard medical systems and they've done nothing for them. And so finally, a lot of them in desperation, reach out and say, well, I've got to find something to help me because there isn't really anything else.
Yeah, that's where I was 18 years ago, right? Living in the hospital pretty much for 32 years from birth. And it was just like nothing. Oh, sorry, it's not working. Oh, sorry, it's not working. But when you grow up in it, you don't know anything different. So one of the things that I want to ask you right off the bat, I know for me personally, I can answer this, but I want the scientific. So with the C60 purple, what is different about what you guys do versus the other brands that are out there?
Okay. Well, first off, on the C60 Purple Power, we've got the first things we use sublimated C60. And if you go back to your high school chemistry class, sublimation is when a solid turns into a gas, then back into a solid. So that's the way that we purify our C60. Most C60 products use a solvent method. They use methyl benzene, also toluene, which is industrial solvent, and they basically can dissolve the fullerenes in that. And then the main thing is you got to separate the fullerenes. There's a C60, which has health benefits. The C70 is shaped like a little rugby ball. It doesn't really have many health benefits so far. But nobody's really done any research on it, so they don't know about it. We had a few biohackers try it, and it didn't go well. So that's separating that is really the hard part. And so basically they use these solvents to separate it, and then they get the C60 in with solvents, and then they have to basically boil off the solvents and then bake them and bake them, multiple bake them to get there. And of course, if they do bake them up to 99.99%, that's still pretty good. Ours is 99.99% sublimated. But that's like, if you got to be careful, because a lot of times they'll have 99.5, that's 0.5% solvents, not good, or 99.9, that's 0.1% solvents. And that's just basically just telling you that there's a little bit of solvent left over. Because, let me say, most of the big producers out there, they're honest people making a quality product, because they and their families use it. But once C60 became popular, we've got a lot of these fly-by-nighters come in, and they're buying junk from China, and that's really being a problem. So that's the C60 side of things. I could talk also a bit about the oils.
Yeah, I'd like you to, because one of the things I noticed, until I found, and it wasn't quite the grade that what you had. So till I found you guys, I'm like, something is different in this. I'm noticing, if you can correct me on this, but I noticed that the C60 purple, when I took it, very different the way it worked because I'm very sensitive to energy, that, in my bloodstream. Like, it was almost just like this activation. It's hard to explain, but it was like, I don't know, the oxygen went up and the activation in my bloodstream. So is that is that basically what you're saying, that the way it's converted, the way you actually created, it penetrates the body very differently?
Yeah, we try to make it the very best that we can. And I mean, we have a really happy crew that makes it for us too. So maybe the vibes that where it's produced has something to do with it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's and on the oils, we kind of done the Goldilocks of oils.
Yeah.
Now there's and this is also something people could put in their lives too. I mean, there's some oils that have really long shelf lives, but they're really rich in omega-9s and 6s, which is inflammatory for people. A lot of these are seed oils. Birds love them, but it's not good for people. And things like sunflower oil, safflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil. All of these oils are just inflammatory and really bad for you. So obviously we didn't put C60 in those. And then but there's the other side of the really good oils, and that's like fish oil or hemp seed oil or flaxseed oil. And these are really omega-3 rich, and they're really good for you. Unfortunately, they go rancid really rapidly. So we would never want to put product in that because it would go bad. In fact, that's for anybody. If you're going to be buying fish oil, hemp oil, flaxseed oil, please buy it out of the refrigerated section of your health food store. Never buy it off the shelf. You're almost guaranteed to have it rancid, which is really bad for you if rancid oil. And so what we ended up was picking the kind of the Goldilocks of oils. So we have olive oil, which is, it's got a nice omega-3 to omega-6 rich. And of course, the people have been using olive oil for centuries, and it's very healthy for you. And then we also have avocado oil, which is perhaps the easiest digested oil there is. And then we also have the MCT coconut oil, and that's because MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides. It's actually a distillate of regular coconut oil. And MCTs can be turned by your liver into ketones, which your cells can use as a flex fuel. One of my friends, Gary Rodriguez, he was the engineer at a show. He had real health problems. So I made that for him because, you need like a flex fuel for your body if you have diabetic problems, because, if you can't process the glucose or you got insulin resistance, well, with ketones, it's immediate energy source. And of course, athletes really like the MCT oil too. That's super popular with them.
Wow. Yeah. So it's basically a preference choice with the three different oils, but it sounds like.
And people sometimes are allergic to an oil, and also I got to admit, when I first got in with the C60, I was working on the fusion reactor product. I think I talked about that last time. Everything was in like olive oil, and it was kind of the extra virgin, maybe not the best. And it was like, and I have slightly sensitive digestive system. So if I took like a half an ounce or an ounce of olive oil, I might have to go to the bathroom. So
you're getting a clean out.
Yes, exactly. So I'm doing the liver flush in this sense. So what I did is that's why I picked avocado oil, because I can tolerate that. It's not, doesn't have that biting taste, and it's easily digested. So that's my personal preference.
And it doesn't affect the product. It just depends what your body can digest in the oil. Correct.
Yes, we just wanted to give people that choice of three healthy, good taste, and we also taste tested them so that they're good tasting. They're all organic. We farm source them. We know where they're coming from, and we got COAs on them to guarantee their purity and stuff. And so we want to make, because we're using, our families use it too, so we want to get the best.
You're watching the face if they went, oh God, you're like, okay, we're not using that product. But it's important because people, you're taking a tablespoon of it, and it's, that's what's happening. And sorry guys, I didn't realize my phone was on there. So you're taking it, you're having to ingest it. So yeah, if you don't like it, then probably other people aren't either. I've had a lot of people ask, and I don't know if I asked you this before, but it's come up a lot. What is there any ability for children to take C60?
Well, see, the thing is, we can't, C60 is not like an FDA approved drug.
No.
No testing on children. So we can't recommend children taking it. We had some of our, friends have given it to their kids. They had one, he broke the planking record at the school. It was, I think it was about 7 minutes long, and he did the planking, and he went 11 minutes.
Wow.
So yeah, it really, especially for athletes, it does wonders. But as we just really can't recommend it for children and we just call it an adult choice.
Yeah. And I guess that's with a lot of different things, right? That people, you have to use your own judgment. And so we're not giving you advice. We're just sharing. I always say that to people. We're just sharing.
And I'm not a medical doctor, and I can't get
medical. No, we're just sharing.
But I'm a research scientist.
I want to say with people, if they're hesitant and they don't understand. So I added, like I said, I added the C60 or C60 into and I take my minerals and, my vitamin D. Where I live, I up the vitamin D quite a bit by the end of August, because the sun changes and we know our levels drop a lot here. We don't get any, right? And so great, I move my energy. But I also know that looking at what's going on in the world, I call it energetic. So I'm going to give you guys an energetic perspective, is that what's going on in the world looks to me like a superbug would look in a hospital. I don't know how else to describe it to people. That's what it looks like. And so on an energetic perspective, so just giving you guys that point of view. And if you know about superbugs in hospitals, then you understand how the body it's so foreign, it doesn't know what to do. And if I wasn't taking, I could tell this from my body, if I wasn't taking the C60, my vitamin Ds, my trace minerals, and my Cs, and keeping them nice and high, I probably would have ended up, for me, I'm just telling you guys personally, I could tell I would have probably been sicker a little longer, because the way my body was going, what is this? Like, it was just very different, even though, yes, we related to cold. It was very different than I've had colds and flus my whole life. We all get them. It was a very mutant. And so I think it's really important that people understand that if you're taking something like a C60 on a regular basis, and I do want to talk again about some of, the things that you've seen on a health front from people that have been taking it for a long time. But have you heard of other people with what's been going on, especially in the last few months? Have they noticed that their immune systems are functioning at a higher capacity right now? Because I did.
Oh yeah, well, one of the things that C60 does that it's well known to do is increase stem cell production, and that's part of that is it causes apoptosis of senescent cells, apogee. So those your senescent cells, the zombie cells, which are basically pulling energy and producing toxins and not contributing anything to the body, they go away. And of course, the body wants to replace the missing cells now. So it stimulates stem cells. But, stem cells can become anything.
Yeah.
And so if you have an immune challenge, the immune system will says, hey, we need more white blood cells of this, that type or the other, right? And bam, you have a little army ready to go to convert to white blood cells and go after whatever it is. So yeah, C60 definitely seems to help people support their immune system.
I think it's really important. I equate, it's gonna sound funny. I don't know if you've heard me say this, but when I talk about C60, I say it's like, oh, hello, Cloud. My cat's coming to say hello. I say it's like an SOS pad in a way in your body, like it's scrubbing. And it's because I just try to explain to people on a real practical level too, right? I said it feels like it's scrubbing out the hidden dirts in the body, the hidden bacterias in the body, the anything that's in a crevice that needs to come out. And it feels like it goes to a deeper level. And that I didn't notice in any of the other products. And this is what I noticed with your product is exactly that. It was like, and that's the only way I can describe it to people. Take an SOS pad, how you can get deeper, scrub deeper, and clean at a real cellular level is what I've noticed now being on it month after month.
Yeah, because you could have up to 10 to the 17th power of C60 molecules in you, so they go everywhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, the key thing is getting your mitochondria back up too, because
Yeah.
once as we get older, the amount of SOD, superoxide dismutase, catalase, they work together to take care of superoxide, and then glutathione too. C60 only, but of course, one thing I want to mention, C60 only goes after two oxidative radicals in the body. And that's superoxide, which is the most damaging oxidative radical. And the other is the hydroxyl radical, which is the second most damaging reactive oxidative radical. But it doesn't interfere with like the signaling molecules. And there are some oxidative species you need in your body for signaling molecules, and you don't want to interfere with it. That's like the nitrogen oxides. They make your capillaries dilate or contract. And then hydrogen peroxide, that's also used as a signaling molecule in some cellular processes. So you don't want to interfere with that. And then there's others based on sulfur, iron, and zinc. And C60 doesn't interact with any of it. So it basically has no toxicity at any level. And that's not the same. Like if you were to take vitamin E or vitamin A or something at those high levels, I mean, that they've done in test animals, there would have been significant damage, but you never have to worry about that with C60.
Yeah, you definitely have to be really careful. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because sometimes people don't know, like, oh, I took too much. Am I going to be in trouble? And my answer is no, but that's good to hear from you. I love it. I have both bottles. It's funny. I have the 8 ounce, and then I also have the 16 ounce, and I have them in every flavor. Okay. I do want to ask some things around the product, but I want to back up a little bit first, because there's various products and people keep asking me these questions, and I'm going to have you answer them. But what have you noticed, and can you share again with people just over time, testimonials of what people have sent to you that they have noticed has changed in their body, in their health? So we know athletes, you said they love it. They notice their performance is stronger in terms of cellular repair. We know that's happening, but can you state some of the more like other?
I could probably give. I have a few testimonials here.
Yeah, I always like people to hear that, because it's important. Because when people are feeling at a crossroads, or they're feeling, and again, I want to say to everybody listening, Ken's going to share these, but like anything, people always say to me, Tracy, how did you restore your life from 3 near-death experiences and being so sick all your life? It took time. It was a process. Like, I was born that way. Things came in later again too. But if you have things that showed up today, you must remember that when he's giving the testimonials, you didn't wake up today with that problem. That problem had been building a long time. So it takes time for it to unravel. All right.
We have one here. This is from Mary, I guess. And she's 52. I was able to go back to work as a massage therapist and got my life back together after taking C60 Purple Power for a few weeks. And now I'm pain-free in my joints and muscles, feeling happier, and my brain is sharper as well. I love C60 Purple Power, and I'll take it for the rest of my life. I'm eternally grateful to you. Much love from Maui. Oh, aloha. So that's a nice place to be. Yeah. I mean, that's what C60 does. C60 is an anti-inflammatory in many ways. So like, it will get into your joints and because inflammation is at the root of about 50% of the diseases we have, especially the degenerative diseases. And that's caused by oxidative radicals. And then oxidative radicals, they damage cells. The cells send out signals. The macrophages come in there. They send out cytokines, and that brings in neutrophils. And then next thing you know, you got an inflammatory problem there. Well, C60 wipes out the oxidative radicals before they cause damage to the cell. It just gets rid of that whole cascade before it happens. And then, of course, the other thing is the brain clarity that people notice with C60. And that's the mitochondria. C60 get uptaken by the mitochondria, and they take the place of SOD, which is gets rid of superoxide. The little mitochondria are like little energy powerhouses in our cells, and they produce 65% of the oxidative radicals that in our cells, especially if you're exercising a lot. So C60 is uptaken by the mitochondria. They use it to neutralize superoxide, and so it doesn't get out there and do damage. And so that's a lot of times you'll see cells with the most mitochondria will have you'll see the most benefit. So things like the brain cells, they're like brains like 3 pounds or whatever, uses 20% of the body's energy. They're just packed with mitochondria. And then also the endocrine glands, they are packed with mitochondria too, because they got to produce all these hormones and other substances. And then finally, of course, the muscles, especially like the heart. And so C60 gets in there, restores mitochondria function, and now things can work the way that they used to. Because C60 doesn't heal or cure anything. What it does, it lifts the oxidative burden your cells are under so that the cells can operate they're supposed to be, the way that they used to do when you were a bit younger and your naturally produced antioxidants were higher.
And I like that you say that, because you must be sick. I was going to ask you the brain clarity, because people have been telling me, like, even if they had addictions to things before, when they've been taking it, they're feeling clear. They're not going to that addictive substance as much, which then, when the mitochondria, we all know when it builds, that's where people are then, oh, my mitochondria is slow, my human growth hormone slow. Then we start to get lots of wrinkles and we start to age in a way. But again, look what's being pumped in our food. And I've noticed, so I eat pretty clean. I eat from the farmer, and I eat, very discerning. Now, say over Christmas. Yeah. Okay. I was like everybody else. I had a few more treats and I got to get back on. But I've noticed that, how do you say that, by keeping on the C60, even when I wasn't feeling well, that my brain was still very clear, very clean, I was downloading even more when I was, still had a cold, that bad cold for a couple of days, because it did hit the throat, you couldn't swallow and had to clean that out. And then I was like, enough is enough. And it just sort of went away. But I've noticed that where people have been saying, if they have addictive substances like smoking or drinking or recreational drugs, people have told me they've noticed that they haven't been, like, it's helping them wind down. Now, I'm not saying it replaces therapy or any of that, but I just thought that was an interesting observation, because, when the brain is functioning, the brain is feeling more calm, people will tend to go to less of those addictive foods or whatever is going on in that addictive cycle.
Yeah, and also C60 gets rid of the dopamine suppression because part of the thing in inflammation, like we have, if you had acute inflammation, let's say you twist your ankle, well, it swells up there, and you see the swelling, the pain. But what also goes behind the scenes is there's a dopamine suppression, because dopamine's the motivation molecule. That's the molecule that gets you out in the bed in the morning to go do all the things you want to do. Well, if you're injured, your body doesn't want you to do that. Your body wants you just to lie there and heal. And so, so that process, and so you got your ankle hurts and you just don't feel like doing anything. You just feel like lying there. But that's a natural thing, and it's good. But the problem is when you have chronic inflammation, then it's a bad thing, because now you just don't have the motivation to go do anything. And also for people that don't have that dopamine, that's that kind of that motivation, that happy molecule, they often take substances to make up for its lack. And so when you take C60 gets rid of the inflammation, and then then of course you don't get the chronic inflammation goes down, the dopamine production rises, and people just feel better and want to do things that they used to do. And that's probably a large part of what those people are experiencing.
Yeah. And I think it's important to address, because especially too, a lot of people that live where I do in these very cold climates, they get depressed quite quickly.
Oh, yeah,
right?
You get that sad.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And that's the other thing that I've noticed with people telling me now. They're like, Tracy, since I started taking the C60, they're not getting hit as hard. They don't have to run to it's not uncommon. People are like run into a tanning salon just to try to get something else, right? But they don't have to do that as much, because they've told me since taking the C60, and I think that's an incredible benefit for people that are in these climates where you're not getting the proper vitamin D, even though you're taking it internally, it's just different. And so I think that's a pretty big, especially for what we're going through right now, testimonial to C60 and how it is cleaning out, like you were saying, with the mitochondria and the dopamine levels. It's really, really, really important, because also where I live, we're in heavy, heavy lockdowns all the time. The people are not waking up. And then again, you feel like you're in this little cage all the time. And so it's helping people sustain not getting to the levels of depression. And I really think that needs to be shared, because we need all the tools that we can have right now until this nonsense comes to an end. And so if that's helping people get through, not feeling as depressed, not feeling as lethargic. And what I've noticed up here too is people are saying if they've been in lockdown places, and I know where you are too, lots of states have been more locked down than others. They're eating very poorly. So they're doing a lot of takeaway food, and that is also not helping. So once they're getting on the C60, they're like, Tracy, I don't want to eat that food. I'm not feeling, and I just think it's really important. And if for people to understand what you guys have created is very different. Like you said, it's very clean. You guys tested on yourself, and a lot of things. I think you mentioned last time you were getting the macular degeneration.
Oh yeah, that's actually how I discovered the C60. I used it for that research project I was working on. And then I had bought a couple sources and I was taking it on and off. And I went in about 7 months after starting C60, I went in to see my eye doctor, and my drusen or dry macular degeneration had disappeared. And then, but that's just a one-off. So by that time, my electrical engineer on the project, Gary Rodriguez, he had diabetes problems, Rodriguez, right? Kind of goes to the thing. And so that's why I made up the MCT coconut thing for him, C60 and that. And then he took it, and his wet macular degeneration, which was really serious, went after about a year of taking like a tablespoon a day. And in the morning, so it's not going to, if you have a problem like that, it took years to happen. It's going to take quite a while to get it. It went completely away. And so he doesn't have that anymore. And the type 2 diabetes he has went away too. So.
And that's incredible, because that also shows how, like, you know this, our body naturally knows how to regenerate all of its organs within a year. But because of all the toxins and all the crap and all the things we put into it, and the stress levels being so high. So what you've done with C60 is help to create the tool that says, okay, one, you do have to clean up your diet, guys. We're not just sitting here saying, like, if you're going to keep eating Twinkies and Flakies and, and well, I shouldn't say that, and fast food every day. And the oils, like what Ken was saying, you're not helping yourself. But if you can even cut that back, like a quarter and then a half, and then start and change your diet and fasting, and then get on to the C60, it will help. But I also have seen energetically, and, I guess I should be careful saying this, but on an energetic level, if they are still doing that, it does sustain on a little bit of a different level. So even if you say, well, I can't do that right now, and you're on the C60, it's going to help you. And like the people that have told me their addictions, then you'll start to at least pull down, where you're not going to crave that food that you're like, oh, I need it, because you are feeling happier. And I think that's incredible with the diabetes, because now you can see you're giving those organs the life force energy that it requires to do its natural ability to restore and regenerate. And I believe people did used to live 200, 300, 400 years, long time ago. Then that went away because of all the garbage over the last thousands of years. But I don't know. I don't want to live to 200 years old. I'm not saying that, but no, thank you. Not in this world. But it does allow longevity on a healthy front.
Yeah, and I think that's and of course, if we were just to look like 100 years ago at our ancestors, and you look at the problems and diseases that they had, it was they had a lot of infectious diseases and other things which allopathics have gotten rid of, but degenerative diseases were just a fraction of what they are today. Yeah. And that's primarily just all the junk in our food. Like, I don't know if they allow them to spray glyphosates on the grains in Canada. But in the US, they spray it on everything before they harvest it to kill it all off. So it's all the right, the right humidity level. But, you're just poisoning your customer base, but they let them get away with it. So we need to be careful for food from America, the US, because it could be badly contaminated.
Well, and even here, like, I think Europe has the strictest policies. I might be wrong, but I know here too, like, my grandfather was a dairy farmer, and, so as a little kid, you go out with him, and then as they changed the protocols and they started force milking them on a regular basis, right? And you'd see all the pus in the blood and the hormones. And he's like, this is not natural, but it was forced upon the industry here, right? But he's like, not natural. We're not supposed to be like milking them through two, 3 times a day. Like, there was a process, right? Well, but he went from the old do it by the hand to the machine, and now the force. So that's when I stopped drinking milk, by the way. I was like, oh, what's going on? And then I was like, oh, it tastes like dirt now, because it changed, but you're putting that in your body, all those hormones, all of that space, which is, moving it down. We're not going to get away, unfortunately, guys. Like, I think it's unrealistic to think in the next 5 years we're going to have completely cleaned organic food. We're just not, because the soil's been contaminated. There's a process, there's years of turning over. So with the C60, it really is going to be a benefit to your body and a benefit to you to be able to sustain and just be able to function.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to make contact with like your local Amish or Mennonite farmers. They still do it the old way, and you can get healthy organic foods from them.
Yeah, that's what I do. And you know what? The only harder part is the fruits and vegetables get a little bit harder up there. But like if I'm eating any sort of meat or anything, I go right to the farmer. I love it because when you walk in, he has a sign of everything not in their food, which is just clean, good meat. And it tastes very different. Everyone says I make the best turkeys ever. And I'm like, well, it helps that the turkey I buy is completely, it's been cut like the week before or a couple days before, however long they take it, it was living. And then, so I have fresh product. So I think that's a big difference. Okay. I want to ask you, some people, and I have this one, I love this actually. So this is a little C60 in the dropper. This is cinnamon. And I noticed there's a couple on the site. People had asked me, what's the difference if they're taking the dropper versus, if they're, you need this as a staple, but where do they need to incorporate this? Or is there any difference other than it tastes good?
It's really just, it tastes good. We have organic isolates that a company here local here makes. And so it just kind of tastes good. Like it puts it, that's kind of like for a travel thing. And also you can put like a little bit in your coffee. So in the morning you can put some of the, kind of have that paleo coffee, and it gives it that little cinnamon taste. Yeah. And we got a nice peppermint now, and we have the orange depending on it. And they're just kind of like fun little things because they're just 1 ounces, and you can take them anywhere. And or I think so those are 2 ounces, and you can take them anywhere, and you can put them in your purse or whatever, and just kind of have them for fun.
Well, you know what I like with it. So I wanted to ask you that because people are like, do I need that with this? But what I like with it is instead of having like another cup of tea or whatever in the afternoon, I put a few drops of this on my tongue, and it actually, or in my water, and it gives me that little, like if I need a little boost, which I don't eat too often, but I find it's just like, oh, and then sometimes maybe I shouldn't say this, but it does freshen up your breath too. So if you've been doing a lot, guys, or you had that coffee, but I don't know, I really enjoy it.
C60 is a bit stimulatory, and that's always why we recommend it taking it in the morning, because you don't want to, if you take it late at night, it'll probably keep you up. So.
Well, that's why I like it. I put 1 or 2 drops on my tongue in the afternoon, and it's just enough. I don't want to take another tablespoon, or I did that by accident. And then you're up till 2, 3 in the morning going, why do I have all this energy? I'm like, oh shit, I took the C60. So also I've had a lot of questions. So it's funny, Cloud came to join me, my big Persians. I've had a lot of questions from people as well, ask about the C60 for pets. Now, we haven't talked about that line, but I would like you to expand on that, what you've noticed with pets, how the pets take it, dogs, cats, or I don't know, is it for their snakes too? So can you, because I'm just learning about the pet line.
Okay, well, that's it's different pets, like different, they have their own preferences. So and generally what you're looking, if you want to have a pet, you want to do like all avocado oil or olive oil, because that's kind of, because the coconut is in the grass family. And so if you give grass, to a dog or a cat, you see them out in the yard eating grass because they, anyway. So it's probably best not to give coconut oil to those pets, because otherwise you'll have to clean up a problem. And
projectile vomiting.
Something like that. So, but and usually what we do is you just put it in. You can mix it in with the wet food, or it'll absorb in with the dry food. And then the pets seem to like it. They tend to like the avocado probably more than the olive oil. I think the olive oil has a bit of a taste, whereas avocado doesn't have nearly as much taste. And it brings them back. That gets them, especially the really older pets. It can bring them back and get that energy they had when they were much younger. And of course, placebos don't work with pets, so you actually see a change right away. And it's not because they thought they were getting something.
Well, it's nice because we always say to our pets, like I have 2 cats and a dog, he's 1 year old, but I'm always like, you got to live forever. And, we've all lost our pets. And I was fortunate enough, I've had one cat, I had 5 years, something different, but, a 21-year-old cat, right? But then when you've had an animal that long, people forget. So any extra days we can get out. And again, just like with humans, right? Pets respond a lot quicker than humans to anything they take. So if you don't understand that, a pet doesn't hold on to the emotions like humans do. They do have the emotions, but it's very different the way they hold on to them and process them. Normally your pet's sick because you have so much garbage, the pet's taking it off of you. So people don't realize that is happening energetically. So if you have the C60 for them, it can also help clean them out a little bit more and give them a little bit more longevity. And I know I heard a guy, I was at the pet store the other day, and the men that worked there, he told me his cat was like 30. I didn't even know cats lived to 30. I'm like, you have a 30-year-old cat? He's like, yes, I have 6 and one is 30. And I'm like, wow.
Yes.
So also you have the powder electrolytes. Would you recommend them? They look like I know I shouldn't call them electrolytes. They seem to work like that when you put the powder, because I know they're for sports. The C60 to take it in, it's into the water, right? Or do they just take the powder? Because I haven't tried the powder yet.
Oh no, we aren't doing the powder. We just that's not ours. We associate with people, but we don't do the powder.
The one with in the box?
Oh no, those are the single serving ones.
Those are the single servings. Okay, yeah.
Those are MCT coconut oil.
The performance packets.
They're just MCT coconut oil, and they're in single serving sizes.
Okay.
So you can just put them in your pocket, throw them in your purse, backpack, whatever, and you just open them up and put them in your coffee. So
but be very mindful again if you're taking it in the afternoon, right? Because it's this servings and it'll do the same thing as the liquid. Because I had that same questions. What's the difference between the package and these are things people want to know. So we want to tell them.
Yeah, because it's a single serving size. You don't have to think about it. And also it's not a bottle, right? If you want to go traveling or whatever, you just throw some of those packets in, whatever, and you're off you go. So you don't have to deal with that stuff.
Okay. Thank you for deciphering that, because it's when people are asking, I'm like, well, I don't know. I just know I take it and I love it. And I know that I take the liquid because I just like feeling, I can feel it through my bloodstream. I can feel what happens. What's on the horizon for C60?
We have a couple more products coming out. We'll have another product coming out before Valentine's Day, but we haven't quite done the announcing on that. And then later we'll have another product here later this spring. So it's they're all in development, but I can't talk about them first until we actually have them up on the website.
So you have them ready to go. Well, I know I'm like, you can tell they're expanding their product line, which I feel is really important because of the health crisis stuff that we're going through, which is more, when I look, it's just more crisis generating from stress, right? Which is increasing the body. So if
we're also going to be partnering with people. So we will have a hair care product. We'll be, at least on there'll be be offering as well. We help them develop it. It has C60 in it. It's a Zier. It's a really good health. They have a copper
for the ball guys, the thickness.
It does that too. It's really good for that. But it's also, there's a lot of people that have hair loss problems for other reasons. Yeah. And so they found, and it was actually one of the first scientific studies they found that C60 would slow down hair loss and male pattern baldness and restore hair in people that had lost their hair for other reasons. There's a variety.
Would that be part of that effect if someone's taking the C60 and say they've been having a lot of autoimmune issues or thyroid issues, which we know affects hair loss a lot. A lot of people do, and high levels of stress. Like I have clients that get high levels of stress and then they're like pulling out clumps of their hair, right? So if they're doing the hair product with the C60, then that would start.
It definitely helps. In fact, it's a two thing. They have a copper peptide and a C60, but it's topically. And of course, C60 is really good topically on the face. As a fact, I think the first human study is it was in a cream, which we are going to have a healthcare product coming out for that. Yeah. We partner with some people to do that. It isn't quite there yet. And the Japanese, they put it on their faces, and it significantly reduced the wrinkles basically on these Japanese women.
Topically. So do they put like just a couple of drops? Because I'm going to get questions. You open the door, they're going to be like, can I put this on my face? So I can already
no. C60 is used topically a lot. It's really, that's its original use is you can just get some and just spread it on there depending on what you want. You got coconut oil, MCT coconut oil, or the avocado oil, olive oil probably smell a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's just, I guess people that, or the Romans used to do that with olive oil. But yeah,
Yeah.
C60 applied topically does wonders. And because it gets right into the skin. So if you have a skin and inflammation, like one of the things I take it camping, and if you get mosquito bite, just rub the C60 on the mosquito bite, and about 20 minutes later, it'll stop itching.
Wow.
So that's one of the good things. So yeah,
I didn't
C60
know
applied
that.
topically is really wonderful, especially for inflammation, topical sort of inflammation.
So even if they get cuts or burns or
Mhm.
they have, what about like sunspots and stuff? Because I've,
Oh, yeah, well, that was one of yeah, there are people that have been using it, and it says it does get rid of some of those sunspots.
yeah.
It takes a while because it took a while for those things
Yep.
to happen. And that was one of the other tests. They did human skin cells in the test tube. They basically found that those that had been exposed to C60, they were much more resistant to UV radiation than the ones that hadn't.
Wow.
So that was another thing. So C60, has all kinds of benefits used topically.
Yeah. Well, gee, now I can see how everybody would be like, whoo, I got to get my wrinkles gone. You need a bottle for your bathroom and a bottle for your kitchen. I always leave mine right by the sink, so I never ever forget. So I want to go back to something you said at the top of the hour, because this is another question that came in, was if people are taking treatments, so we'll just say, like, I try to be sensitive here. If they're taking medicines for many different treatments, they don't have to worry if they're going to be taking the C60 for interactions.
Yeah, C60 will not interact with any medicines, nutrients, drugs, whatever. Now, some things you have to be careful with, because C60 will restart like the adrenal glands. And so if you've got, like, let's say you're on a blood thinner, mineral corticoids are produced in the adrenal glands. And it's
Yes.
also matched by certain things out of the hypothalamus
Yeah.
pituitary complex. So if you're taking a blood thinner and you take C60, your underlying problem, which caused your blood to be, quote, thick, will might go away very rapidly. And then you've taken the blood medication, so your blood gets too thin. So if you're doing that, if you want to take C60, you need to consult with your doctor and get more testing. And also, it's a little bit that it's not quite as serious, but it happens with the hormone thing, but it takes a little bit longer. Like Sierra, she's our all things marketing with C60, and she had zero thyroid production. Right, she'd had Hashimoto's, and she was in her late 20s. She's in her early 40s, and after about 3 years of C60, she's gotten rid of 2/3 of her medications.
Wow.
So
That's huge.
and so you might do that. We had another guy who was in his 70s. He had I guess he had testosterone at 350. The doctor gave him creams. He got up to about 700, and then he started taking C60. Went into the test with his doctor, and he was at 1200. So the doctor backed him off from the creams. So it can also pop those hormone levels up. But what it does, because one of the things is your mitochondria make pregnenolone. So if your mitochondria get functioning again, the mitochondria in the hormone glands, they make a lot of pregnenolone. So your pregnenolone level is going to go up. That's the precursor molecule for all the hormones. So all the hormones downstream will go up. So your melatonin will go up, and your pituitary will sleep better. Your human growth hormone and all the other ones made in the pituitary, hypothalamus complex, your thyroid, your thymus, your adrenals, all of those levels go up. And because that's one of the things that people get increase in, say, virility if you take C60. So that's another side effect that you'll have to be aware of. That will happen.
But these are good things. And I can tell you, like, I'm going to be 51 in early March. And I noticed by changing my diet and taking C60, I was just starting to get, some of the night sweats and things and I didn't know much, like I'm pretty balanced, pretty good, but going on the C60 and then adjusting a few things energetically. And then, I went back to my fasting a little bit differently and completely gone, like nothing. And I think for women that are listening too, it's extremely important, because when you get up, and your body's changing, if you can stabilize that, then you don't have to be putting all that extra stuff in your body that they want you to put in. So I think it's really important. And like anything, I always say this to people because I've seen it a lot, where they've been on medicine and they've changed things, and now they're having these reactions and they naturally assume it's the thing they just started putting in or the thing they started doing. So, and then they panic. And I'm like, no, if you go and get regular testing from your doctor, like you were saying, they'll see the levels have changed, and then you have to adjust the medicine down, which ideally is what you want until you're off. Because if you go back to what Ken was saying at the top of the hour too, and we were talking about how the organs naturally regenerate if they are in perfect optimal health every year, that your organ is regenerating. So as it regenerates, it doesn't require that extra help from the medicine anymore. And people forget that because your organ forgets how to work when you get lazy and it's putting in a medicine all the time. And that's why it should be temporary, not forever life. I always say to people, because then like your pancreas doesn't know how to work anymore without it. So when you put the C60 in, now you're giving it a benefit to help regenerate. So you need to test, correct?
Yes. Yeah. That's, we always recommend testing if you're taking that. And of course, the problem is, of course, a lot of people on multiple medicines, and then the interactions between them all is just your doctor. Sorry, your doctor doesn't understand that and doesn't have that something, a supercomputer has a problem doing. So.
Yeah. And that's a whole other topic. And I know from somebody that's been in that space personally that I'll tell you guys, when you put the right things in your body and you clean out your environment and you clean out the things that are stressing you. And even though we're hit with global stress, there are ways and solutions to get through it. There's a lot of things that are going to change this year, and the C60 can be a massive tool in your toolbox. And everyone I know, they're so happy. I know I was happy when I found an actual pure product, because you look and you just don't know, right? But then when you put it in the body and you feel it, like you feel when you take this for the first time, like people telling me that they have their energy where they never had energy before, like you said. But I mean, like, it sustains itself. So when the body's like, oh, what is this? You might have a lot of energy for the first couple of weeks for it to level off.
Yeah. And it's always good to be proactive too. Yeah. And that's one of the things, is taking control of your health. And it's just, C60 is not the magic pill, and it can help you, but you really have to, you've got to get off your butt really and do the exercise. You got to eat the nutrition right. I mean, just doing organic foods for like 2 weeks, they found reduced 90% the herbicides and pesticides in the body. Yeah. And so and of course, today's food is so depleted, our soils, you got to have the multivitamin, multi-mineral. And I know you've talked about all these things too. It's just, but it's just one part of a whole process of taking control of your health and living and being healthy. It won't.
It's kind of like I say, money is a tool. Well, C60 is a tool that we put in to help us, like to help regenerate. And I will say it forever. I am so grateful that I started, when I switched over and started into a very high, good, great product, which, it's what you want, because I know that I might have had I was tired. It was a year where there's a lot of people in a lot of fear and a lot of drama, and I'm dealing with them all day long. Right. So I need to keep my body as strong as possible. So I was very, very grateful to have the C60, because I could see what it was doing to my immune system and helping to ride through that. So 3 days versus some people I know have been 2-3 weeks. Right. And it's their thing. Oh, I'm not taking anything. I don't need anything. I'm like, we live in a world with stress. You need to have some tools. So this is a tool. And there's a question here that I saw someone had sent it in. So I think we answered this. So they were just wondering if autoimmune disease, will it help? We just talked about that with your colleague.
Well, it's usually a lot of an inflammatory. And part of another thing, people have a lot of autoimmune things. It's not an autoimmune condition. What happens is you've got some retroviruses in there, like Epstein-Barr, and distemper and some other viruses, and they're hiding out there. And your body is, it's attacking the organ, but it's not attacking the organ because it's attacking the organ. It's because there's something in there that can do it. So if C60 has been found to moderate the immune response, so it functions better. But there's other things you can do, like taking lysine, that really suppresses viral production. So and there's a whole bunch of other protocols. So C60 will reduce the inflammation, and that can also bring down autoimmune situations. But you need to get to some of those underlying causes, because they just say they just label it with this label, but there's actually an underlying cause which is causing that, and getting to that will really get to the root of the problem, and you can help heal yourself. And there are professional healers out there that can help you do that if you want to go research and find them.
And then understand what that causes. We just did a whole thing on immune and limb system and what causes it on that energetic and emotional level. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, they were connecting dots of things that had to change, and it'll change the system. And I just say her second part to that was, what have you noticed was C60 with the effects on the liver being one of the biggest processing organs?
Well, the C60 does great things for the liver, because that's one of the ways it goes out of the body. It's the liver eventually it grabs everything, right? It'll grab the C60 and puts it out through the bile system.
Yeah.
So you get pretty good concentrations of C60, and the C60, while it's going through that process, will really help the liver. And to process, because the liver is where the toxins are, and C60 ends up there to help neutralize the oxidative radicals that are produced by the toxins as they break down. And of course, one of the things I'm not a medical doctor, I can't give medical advice, but I would give my opinion that intermittent fasting is really good for you. Because if you do that 18 hours or 16 hours, whatever it is, what's going to happen, it's going to put you in that ketone process, or it's the first thing when the body sends out the messages to dump that fat. The first fat that starts dumping is in the liver. Mm-hmm. So you get rid of that fatty liver problem. And once you get rid of the fatty liver problem, your liver is so much better.
And it's funny because in the energy world, people always say liver processes anger. And I said, actually, liver, just like it processes all the toxins, right, to go through on a physical level. I said, guys, it processes all your emotions. The liver is like a very, very powerful organ. And so when you clean out, a lot of people don't realize this, when they clean out the actual physical toxins of the liver, you can get a lot of emotional detox. And sometimes you're more emotional, right? People are like, well, I feel a little more angry, or I feel a little bit more weepy, but then you get clear brain.
Yeah. And one more thing is, when you're doing that, you're taking more fiber is really important. Yeah. Because a lot of times your liver will get rid of estrogens and testosterone and stuff, and they process it and package it, and then they put it out there. And if you don't have fiber to absorb it, you can get reabsorbed back into it. So you're just throwing the waste out, it's going back in. But if you have a good fiber base, it'll stick to that stuff. It's designed to do that, and then it'll go out the backside, and you don't have to deal with that. So having fiber in your diet is really important.
It is important. Yeah. It's amazing how people cut that out. I'm like, you do need fiber for many, many reasons. Yes. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us, because there's so much. And when did you create C60? Just for people who didn't know.
Oh, that was back in 2016. I started learning how to make it after I found it got rid of my macular degeneration. And I just figured, this is something I better learn how to do for myself. So I made formulations for friends, family, and myself, and then just one thing led to the other, and eventually it turned into this company. But originally it was just so that I could make it in avocado oil, so I didn't have to deal with the strength of the olive oil. And then for my friend, I made it in MCT coconut oil. So it just kind of started as a helping thing, and it turned into a business.
But those are the right ideas. That's how it works, right? We do something, and that's how you're on the right path and on the right track. And you guys are all amazing to deal with. Everybody there, anybody that's ever said to me they had to call or change or things or whatever. So thank you for being so amazing and for developing the product, because these are the things that are going to be the future. People are looking for tools. So I can't thank you enough for coming. Everybody, you can go there. We're going to have the link below for you. So when we re-air the show, but if you go to the C60 Purple website, you can use Tracy L Clark, and you can have a coupon code for there as well. We'll put all the links below in the show notes. And I hope you'll really, if anything, for 2022, there's a lot of upheaval. We've already been through it in a different way, but a lot of things are coming out in masses. So if you can get your health needs to be number one. And if you can have this tool in your toolbox, I can tell you anything that I share, I personally put in my body, or else you will not hear me talk about it. I'm very picky, you know that. And you really, really need this tool, because it's going to be an up and down ride for 2022. So Every year people make these, oh, I want to make my health, make it serious. I cannot tell you, be serious, because there's a lot of different things we
Yeah.
can see unfolding. Be
Yeah, I would
serious.
definitely make a thing on getting ready for 2022. I was an economist before I became a research scientist, and yeah, there's going to be some bumps in here. So
Yes.
just making sure you have enough food and you've got medicines that you need, and just have that, enough for a few months in your house, just so that you don't have to worry if things go a little south occasionally.
Well, they're going to go south. They really are. And I've been talking about that. So prepare. And if you have all of this in stock and everything you need, your food, your water, your C60, your extra medicines, you're going to get through this, and we will get through this better, and we will come out the other side better as humans, I promise, and we'll come more together. So thank you so much, Ken, for joining us. I'm so happy that
Glad
you're
to be
here,
on.
and we can't wait to see you again with the new products.
That's right. We'll definitely introduce them on your show.
I love it. All right, everyone, have a great week. We'll see you next week, where you can submit your questions, and we'll take care of all the things that have been on top of mind for 2022 right here. Make sure you join us on the Telegram group. You can see it at the bottom of tracylclark.com. And you can also get the links for the C60 as well in your membership sites, and on the Telegram, they're there. So we can always help you out as well. Have an incredible week, everyone. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you for listening to the Tracy L Clark Show with me, Tracy L, where I teach you how to connect to the God consciousness so you can unlock your superpowers and connect at light speed and live your extraordinary life. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where together we will unlock the secrets of your body and your life. As the founder of the Body Regeneration Academy, I, Tracy L, will provide you with the insight and simple tools you can apply right now in your life to move you forward and leave the past in the dust. To join the Body Regeneration TLC Online Academy, make sure you check me out at tracylclark.com.